In an age where horror movies are basically just about demons or the supernatural, I can't express enough how amazing it is to see a good monster movie on the big screen, especially one that prioritizes practical effects. So in today's video, of course, I'm going to be talking about Alien Romulus. I'm going to give you my review and compare it to the first Alien movie. First off, let's go ahead and talk about the film's budget. For those of you who don't know, Alien Romulus had a budget of $80 million, which is less than half the budget of Deadpool and Wolverine. And yet, Alien Romulus looks as good, if not better, than Deadpool and Wolverine in some instances. And why is that? Well, first off, both films use a lot of practical effects, which, of course, adds to the overall feel. Both movies also cleverly use CGI. Deadpool and Wolverine uses it a little bit more, but their story calls for it. What I mean by this is Alien Romulus is extremely secluded. I mean, look at that. That's a ship. That's one place, one area, and it's this ship where most of the movie takes place. It makes the movie so much more tense and scary because of it. I mean, think about it. They're stranded out in the middle of space in a metal box with only a thin layer of metal between them and the void. And to make matters worse, you gotta worry about this motherfucker right here. Alien Romulus feels like a return to form in the best way possible. I feel like this movie is amazing from start to finish, and I mean just from the practical effects to the atmosphere. This movie feels like it was ripped right out of the 80s, and that's why I'm going to compare it to the 1979 film. Alien is a beloved franchise spanning over the course of 40 years. During that time, the franchise has changed drastically. New pieces of lore, plot holes, and heroines have kept the franchise feeling fresh. And although some may not agree, but this is peak. I think what makes these movies so popular is they perfectly encapsulate body horror, that feeling of a foreign entity inside of you. For those who don't know, Ridley Scott's intention with the 1979 film was to showcase abuse. And with that in mind, think about everything that is so invasive in the Alien series. The facehuggers impregnate you, the chest bursters kill you, creating a new spawn for the cycle to restart all over again. It's horrifying. So with all that being said, Alien is kind of like the perfect horror movie. It has good scares, it has good deaths, it has good pacing. I mean, what more could you ask for? This guy? Let me in now, not once, not twice, anytime that I like. The original Alien film is a monument not only to horror, but film in general. It pushes the boundaries of practical effects, it pushes the boundaries of horror and the genre. It is a staple when you think of a sci-fi horror movie. And because of that, it's going to determine my criteria when rating Alien Romulus. So I've broken down my rating criteria to 4 individual sections, worth 25 points each, allotting to a possible score of 100. The first category is body horror, meaning how invasive did it feel? Did I feel uncomfortable watching some of the sequences and things of that nature? The second one is atmosphere. How did the ship feel? Did it feel like it belonged in the universe? Did it feel sci-fi? Did it feel grounded? What was the overall tone? Category number 3 are the characters. Were they likable? Did I enjoy them? Do I think the actors did a good job? Things of that nature. And last but not least, I'm going to be critiquing the overall story. Does it send a good message? Does it frighten me? Does it invoke something in me? Am I excited to go watch it again, or am I excited to go see another Alien movie? That's what I'm going to be judging on. So let's go ahead and start off with body horror. As I had previously mentioned, the 1979 film was a pioneer for body horror. And since then, I feel like every subsequent Alien film has raised the bar in some way or another. New filmmakers have been brought onto the franchise, finding new ways to make audiences feel uneasy and, quite frankly, a little bit queasy when watching these movies. And since Alien Resurrection, the franchise as a whole has kind of moved more towards like this xenomorph human hybrid. A concept that is not only terrifying to look at, but terrifying to consider. A movie that does this really well, in my opinion, as I had stated before, is Prometheus. I think the body horror in this is disgusting. It makes me want to puke. I don't want to show it to you guys. It's probably blurred behind me right now. But what about Alien Romulus? This is actually the first Alien movie that has felt like an Alien movie in a really long time. A lot of people's complaints with Prometheus and Covenant is that it delves too much into the engineers and the creation of the xenomorphs, and it just doesn't feel like your traditional Alien film. Well, I'm here to tell you Alien Romulus does not have that issue at all. It is Alien from the get-go. It is so good. The story does not center around hybrids or gene splicing. We are simply following our misfit characters as they try to survive. Now, that's not to say that the hybrids are never brought up. You have to take into consideration that Prometheus and Covenant are now canon, and this movie is trying to tie it all together. Now, with all of this being said, back to the topic. Alien Romulus has some really creative body horror. If you look at this clip from the trailer, we can see a chest burster in real time. That's terrifying. I never thought I'd see that, and now I can't unsee it. There are other moments as bad as this throughout the film, but I'm not going to tell you about them here. You're going to have to go watch it in the theater. For body horror, I'm going to give Alien Romulus a 20 out of 25. I feel like other films in the franchise have done it better, but Alien Romulus is still pretty amazing. Now let's go ahead and talk about the atmosphere. As I had said before, this movie feels like it's ripped right out of the 80s, and that is seen through all of the practical effects, all of the technology that is used. It feels so old school and so cool. But the bigger question is, was this atmosphere scary? And the simple answer is yes. Yes, it was. The design of the ship feels so intentional, and it plays into that horror factor. There are so many amazing environmental clues as to what happened, what went down, what happened to the crew, what happened to the station in general. It's little details like that that can create an environment that is almost like a living character. Another reason why the environment feels so scary is because Fede Alvarez, the director of Alien Romulus, took a lot of inspiration from Alien Isolation. And that game, Jesus Christ, that game's not, you don't f around with that game. And finally, I mean, the use of practical effects in this movie was just mind-blowing. There's been so many behind-the-scenes photos that have been released, and I want to say like 90% of this movie is practical effects. And that can create such a rich and amazing atmosphere to witness. And because of everything that I had mentioned, I'm going to give Alien Romulus a 25 out of 25 for atmosphere. This feels like the perfect Alien atmosphere. It feels scary, it feels tense, you want to know what's going on, it feels ominous, it's very in your face, and just, it's great. Yeah, no notes. All right, but let's go ahead and get into the characters, okay? It's no surprise that Alien has some of the best characters in horror history. I mean, look at this girl boss. Look at her. She is amazing, okay? And if we look even further, look at this other girl boss. Amazing, great. There are so many good characters in this film, and I feel like all of them work really well together as a cast. They have amazing chemistry. But the two standout characters are Rain and her brother Andy. There is one critique I want to give the characters though. I feel like their motivation throughout the movie is kind of baseline. There are some light spoilers ahead for the film. So the entire reason why the characters are up on the Romulus station is to look for cryopods so they can get to a different system than the one that they're in now. Rain wants to leave because her parents passed away and Andy is all she's got, and she wants to see a sun again because the planet that they're on can't see any sun. Andy's objective is to do whatever is best for Rain, and Kay is secretly pregnant, and she wants to get out of the system to go have a better life for her and her kids. But Tyler, Bjorn, and Navarro, I have no clue. I mean, really and truly, these three characters just kind of feel like fodder. But that's not super important when it comes to movies like this. I mean, you go watch a horror movie for the scares, you don't really give a shit what the characters are doing. So for characters, I'm going to give Alien Romulus a 15 out of 25. If you stack it up against the Alien 1979 film, it's really night and day. Character motivations and characters in general. There are some like lines of dialogue that I thought were just really corny and stupid, but at the end of the day, I really had a fun time watching the movie and I felt for these characters, so I'm going to give it a 15 out of 25. Finally, let's go ahead and talk about the overall story. This movie is a fantastic addition to the franchise, and honestly, I think a necessary one. It pushes the overall lore of the franchise and helps mend what these two films did to it. And as I had said before, there are a couple lines of dialogue and some story beats that I felt were a little basic, but overall, this story is an easy 20 out of 25. So, tallying up our points, Alien Romulus is sitting at an 80 out of 100, or an 8 out of 10. This movie is definitely worth the watch, so I urge you to go see it in theaters. I believe it's really important to support movies like this because they do so much with so little. And I, for one, can't wait for it to come out on 4K so I can watch it all over again. Oh shit!